The A-Class DJ. It's Supta and your favorite A-lister, Tshepi.
It's a Tuesday, the very last stretch of the A-list. On Friday, it will be our very last one. But since it's Tuesday, we always get into what we call the startup with Nthoana. And we've been doing this for a beautiful, beautiful 2 years. As young businesses, you don't know where to go. You can sit there on Google, but really no one speaks the language that you do. And that's exactly what we've been doing for the past 2 years. With the help, of course, of our spectacular Nthoana, who gave of his time every single Tuesday, even on his busiest days, even when he was writing exams, he would find time to have a conversation with us. It wasn't just for Supta and I, it was really for you, the A-lister, to help you to make that business a success. And unfortunately, today we're having a conversation for the last time, but also we're speaking about a conversation we really, really have not touched on as well. Just, the essence and the accepting when your business has unfortunately not made the strides that you would have expected it to make thus far, and it's time for you to close it down. As a young business owner, it's very hard to accept this particular, I don't even want to say a demise, I don't want to use that language, but this fate of your business, closing it down and going back to the drawing board. You might see it as a failure, but probably it isn't. This is why we have Nthoana to talk to us about this and how many business ventures he's had that's failed, and look where he is now.
Teboho, good morning, brother. Welcome to the A-list for the last time on the startup, man.
It feels like a funeral, yeah.
Hey.
Well, you're still alive, would like to think. We're still alive.
No, good morning, Tshepi. Good morning, Supta. Thank you for having me. And good morning to all our FM listeners.
Yeah.
No, like you said, it is indeed the last day.
Yeah.
In this financial year or in this year, that the A-list has been. I really hope that our listeners has really learned something over the years, and they've really grown their business or even grown it individually. To actually be able to handle such things better.
Look, man, we started this journey 2 years ago, and it literally started from the foundation of what a business is to the conversation and the topic we have today, which is a very, very tough pill to swallow when you have a business. But it's something that we need to talk about, that accepting failure in your business and saying, Yazin, I've tried. I've gone through the challenges. I've tried every single thing in the business. But it's not going the way that I would have wanted it to go. At which point do we need to actually realize that our small business is not working out?
Sure. Sometimes I think the first thing that one needs to realize that this thing is not working out. It's when you no longer find joy in running your business. So that peace that you have when you're doing what you love. The minute you've lost that joy, you lost that peace or that mojo that got you to actually start the business. In the first place. So that's really the first thing that you need to, that's when you've lost that you realize that you really need to close that door. And when you constantly lose money, I think that's the second point that you need to raise. So say you've been running this business, you're losing money because it's like you're busy putting money down the drain, but with no sign of it, coming back anytime soon. So that's where obviously money would also speak to profitability, and when you're no longer being profitable enough in terms of your time, in terms of your energy as well. Because remember, in a business, you devote time, you devote energy.
Yeah.
So and with that, obviously, it's when you know that you've really tried everything, you've asked for help. You've tried, to really put in the time, put in the energy to it, And another thing, I think another point to close is if you're in a partnership, it's when your partners or as shareholders, you cannot resolve differences. It's when you're filing for divorce, they call it irreconcilable differences, to say we can no longer work together, And lastly, when your product or service is no longer in demand.
Sure.
That is the time that you need to close that business and maybe reinvent the business or start a new one, or just close it off and just go relax and find a way to recoup yourself, because right now you cannot be rendering a service or selling a service that people no longer need or no longer want, or that's no longer in demand.
I think,
therefore, you'd find that it's one of those businesses. Have you seen how many businesses we have
Yes.
that sometimes they no longer be having customers coming in, but they just keep it hoping that it would change.
And, I think of those businesses that were started during COVID. I mean, businesses that were selling masks, example.
Exactly.
And they were booming at that time. And of course, it went to a point where the masks demand sort of dropped. And I love the fact that you're saying maybe even reinvent yourself. It's not that masks are not needed, because that is PPE, right? And PPE will always be needed. You find a different direction. You're no longer going to the general public anymore because there's no longer a demand there. But there's still a demand, in other places. I think that's a very important, factor to put in there. But also, let's be realistic, yeah? And I know a lot of entrepreneurs say this. I'm sure you say this as well when you're going for a lot of talks and seminar. We hear you say, when you fall, you get up again, no matter how many times you get up again. But let's be honest, there's only so much someone can do in getting up over and over again. How many times do you suggest an entrepreneur to start over again or to try again and rework an idea or a business when it's not working out?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? When it's difficult to say. There's not actually a number of times that one can count, because I mean, when you look at some of the inventions, whether it's invention of an electrical bulb or whatsoever, you find that they do note that this thing has collapsed, over 100 times or over 1,000 times, and you find even the likes of Tshepi, he says he went to over 30 banks, trying to secure funding for buying mining companies. But now they were declined. Do you understand? But reality is, we and you, Tshepi, we go once, we knock, they close. We go twice, we go 3 times, we give up. So, and that's why sometimes you realize that sometimes we don't really get to really reach the peak that we want to reach, because right now we're giving up. I think what we then need to teach people is how to have resilience, that despite the number of times that you keep on falling or you keep on declining, find other ways of doing it or doing it differently, because you might be a minute away from perhaps reaching, your destiny, or reaching out to actually your peak. That's why you find countries like the likes of Israel, the more you fail, the more they give you money, because they believe it's the more closer you get to hitting it. Whereas in our country and in our continent, we're living in a country and a continent that doesn't have a room for failure, So the minute you fail once, you're told to give up or to lose it, or you don't even get financed anymore, because right now, you failed. And which is something that I think it's pretty much unfair. That's why if there's no resilience in our people, especially people today, they keep on giving up. I mean, you guys are on YFM today. How many radio stations rejected you once upon a time, and others said you're not even talented, but because you believe in your craft, you believe in what you do, you've made it where you are. So I believe really it is in that persistence and keeping that resilient and keep on knocking. People would eventually get to where they're going. I mean, I've failed a lot of times myself, whether in business or even in personal life itself. But right now, giving up is not an option, because now that means what? You're going back to the township, sitting and doing nothing. How that will serve you? How is that going to serve you? Do you understand?
Yeah.
So either way, you'd rather be keep on being resistant and trying, and eventually you'll get to that break. And more than anything, pray, guys. There's nothing that beats prayer.
Yeah.
Because reality is certain situations are beyond us. We're competing with people, basa robaling at night. They busy jumping things. You see, exactly, and I believe there's really nothing that beats prayer. It makes you a better person, and it makes you resistant, and I mean, in time, would really get to be able to do the impossible.
And Teboho, what I've noticed is that the lack of resilience really comes from many people who get into business because they think you're going to be a millionaire overnight. And when certain things don't happen or you fail once, you're like, no, this thing that I've been sold of being a millionaire is not going to happen,
Yeah, and others, when Supta, they get into business because they're seeing Supta in business. If Supta is making it, it means I will. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, and wanting to get into the same business as Supta, forgetting or not knowing, or Supta is part of his calling, or Supta, puts on time to actually do that. That's why you find half of the time you're competing with people that you don't know they're competing with you. You know, they're trying to find, whatever that is better than you, where they go to a shop going to buy clothes, they want to buy something that is better than yours and this and that. So they're not really living for themselves, but they're living for you, or if they're living to compete. And without you knowing, when are you doing it effortlessly because it's your life?
Yeah.
So it's really that to say it's important to review that business. Take that time out to review why, to question your why. And it's in that why that I've realized that we're able to get to be that resilience, to say why you're doing what you're doing, and why you're starting this business. And that's why in tough times, that why will be the one that carries you to say, this is the why that you started this business, and this is the why that you push it through or fight for it.
Teboho, and when it doesn't work out, this business thing, right, you've been pushing, and you've gotten to that realization that actually, now it's time for me to wrap things up. Now it's time for me to end it off. Who do you notify first once you've gotten to that decision?
Okay, so now, depending, once obviously your business has shut, it depending on, if ever you're in debt, the first person that you're letting know, it's your debtors, So to say, you know what, we're not doing well as a business, so we've decided to close our doors, or we've decided to liquidate that business, So then if ever then you're not in any debt, so then from the what you don't need to do, then you need to notify your customers, people that have been loyal, sometimes in the midst of having that one customer, to say, thank you for your business, you've been supporting us throughout all these years, but it has reached a time where we've decided to close the business, because it no longer makes business sense to keep our doors open. So therefore, we're going to close this business and try to find something else, or we're going to reinvent ourselves. If you don't have any customer, you don't have whatever, I just tell your God, sit down and reinvent yourself. See what else you could do, because sometimes it's in that reinvention. Because sometimes I always say, for every experience that we get, you come out with either with a lesson or with an experience. So there's no such a thing as really as a regret. That's why half of the time we need to be able to always have a positive outlook, to say, what can you do differently, or what have you learned out of that journey, so that when you get on a new journey, you try out something different that might hopefully work for you.
Let's do something different. When we come back at Teboho Nthoana, we reflect on the journey that was the journey of this beautiful 2 years that you've been giving us all these beautiful nuggets of knowledge when it comes to business that we really wouldn't have gotten anywhere, and you gave them to us for free, 99.2.
The A-List with Supta and Tshepi.
We were talking about a time when you have to accept as an entrepreneur that unfortunately your business is not working out. Let's go back to the drawing board. It's by far not a failure, but truly a learning curve. And Teboho, we did something we usually don't do. We took you into the next link. We usually have you on one, and because this one is a auspicious occasion, because we really are closing it off. It's been a really, really lovely run, and as a business owner, someone who has taken from his own experience and brought it on to here on the radio to help people, I think we really, really appreciate that. And also just digging deep from your entrepreneurial brain. I mean, you're quite far gone in your entrepreneurial journey, but nonetheless there's always learning to be done. They always say that you never stop learning. When you stop learning is really when you die. For you, in your last parting shots, really, like we said, we've been doing this for the past 2 years, and you've been speaking to young entrepreneurs for the past 2 years, even those who have called in and said, this is what's happening with my business and I don't know what to do, and these are the challenges, and you'd selflessly help them as well. What would you like a young business owner to learn right now about starting a business and making it successful? Even the one, this is a full circle. We started this feature and our very first topic was how to register a business. And now we're closing it off with, say it doesn't work and we've closed it and your business needs to close off. It really does feel like a full circle at the end of the day. But there must be a lesson that one needs to take out of this 2 years that we've been doing this, or even in just their business journey. What would you like a young entrepreneur to know about starting and, of course, making their business successful?
Yeah, one thing that I want to say to all our listeners is the fact that running or getting into business is not an easy journey. It's gonna knock on you, and you're gonna have days where you fail. You're gonna have days that you feel like giving up, and a whole lot more. So, but however, one thing is, failing in one business that doesn't mean that you'll fail in another. We're living in a world that is very dynamic, with over 1,000, if not 10,000 ideas or kind of businesses that one could run. So reality is you won't fail on all of them. Try to find a business that works for you, and try to find a business, that's really looking at solving problems. Just don't just go into business for the sake of going to business. Look at what problem is your area or is your country experiencing, and how can you better solve that problem? And one thing is that the one that solves the most problems sends the highest invoice. So the more complicated or the more bigger the problem, the bigger the invoice that you're able to really send. And if it means reaching out to people out there, social media, use it for effective ways, in terms of reaching out to people that inspire you, or people that you are learning something from, or that you want to be like, or that you could actually be able to learn from. Don't just follow people for the sake of following people. You find yourself following this person, there's nothing conducive or positive that they're sharing. That already declutters your mind. So it's important to declutter, and it's important to really be careful of what you consume as a person, or as a young person, or as a business person. It's important. I always say it's important to expose yourself to environments, expose yourself to people, to businesses, and a whole lot more. And try by all means that, if you tried it this way, it didn't work, try it differently the next time around. Or don't be afraid to ask for help. I've realized that people are always willing to help if you're asking for help. But some of us, we fail in our own little corners and get depressed without having asked anybody for help. Reality is there's a solution. There's technology these days that you can use. There's IA now that you can use to give you certain solutions to certain problems, so that we really should take advantage of resources out there. And most importantly, keep on pushing, push. I think that's the best thing that you could do for yourself, to say change your situation. Just because it didn't work for somebody else doesn't mean that it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes we tend to look at someone else's situation that it didn't work for them, and you automatically give up without even trying. So we don't have jobs these days, so we need to be the one that create jobs. And if it means you moving to another country or doing business in another country, by all means, let's take advantage of that. You don't want to just work in Tembisa, run a business in Tembisa and do everything in Tembisa. Go out there. South Africa is big. You might find that Tembisa is not responding, but Nthoana is responding very well and everything else. But you wouldn't know up until you do that. We just need to have courage as young people to take the bull by its corn and definitely be able to do things differently.
Teboho, it's been absolutely amazing, the journey for the past 2 years. Thank you for sharing your time. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, and also just going over and above for us, even on days where really we couldn't get a hold of you. You'd make sure that you call us back and say, hey guys, I've made time, I've moved my things, and I'm just forever ready to share the business knowledge with each and every person who's listening on the A-List. We really, really appreciate you, and may God bless you with all your businesses and your journey moving forward. We're going to meet soon, my man, in the boardrooms for sure.
No, definitely we should. And I can never not thank you enough, Supta and Tshepi, for the opportunity in the last 2 years. And I really know that, in the last 2 years, we've grown our relationship, exponentially. Definitely, that tomorrow you're facing a struggle or you're doing this and this, you can pick up the call and call.
Yeah.
So, and more than anything, as we're heading to a new year and a new journey, good luck with both your journeys.
Thank you.
I guess they'll be announced in due time as to what is happening, where you all are going or whatever. So, but it has really been a pleasure to work with you. I appreciate it. And I really know without a doubt that we've really brought a positive thing to our listeners.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Teboho, listen, I don't know if you listen to piano, bruh.
I listen to piano. I love piano.
Okay.
I love piano.
I'm going to play you this one by Calvin Momo and Babalwa M. It's called Sisuka Kude, yeah?
Absolutely. Now,
speak to us, man. Have an amazing day, Teboho. So much love, brother.
No, thanks a lot, Supta. Thanks a lot, Tshepi.
Weekdays from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. only on Y.